so welcome. Welcome, 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 my people. Here we go again. Another vibration, another glorious day, another wonderful moment in time. History in the making, prophecies unfolding, life is evolving. It's an amazing day. Glory be unto the Most High for all strength, for honor, for glory and power, everything due unto Him, Almighty. Thank you for all that you have done for us this day, this moment. In time, we've endured to this present moment. So, glory, honor, blessings, praises unto your mighty name forever. We are here again on the Naked Truth, and I guess we're in part 5. As you know, the book, the Bible, man, it's a vast book filled with so much information. So we have to take time to kind of uncover most of it. We kind of use up some hours sometime trying to, elaborate, on a lot of things that are written in this book. I've said before to all my brothers and sisters out there that not to take everything in this book for face value. The point is, and I try to reiterate this as much as I could, to the descendants, right? The descendants of slaves, you should pay very careful attention, right? This information wasn't passed down from your ancestors to your ancestor to your ancestor to you today. So you have to question what's been given to you and how it was fed to you, and how valuable it is, or if it's even valuable or valid. So you have to pay more, some serious attention than anybody else. And I'm saying the descendants have to, and the people that's been conquered have to as well. Conquered by whom? You have to pay very attention. You have to pay careful attention. I say, not very, but very careful attention to that. So I would employ all the descendants of slaves. As I said before, in this book here, we talk about the Bible, right? We talk about the scrolls. The information has been translated, how it's been perverted, it's been conformed. So we have to exercise our ability, in order to cultivate that which is true, able to analyze and, try to sift through the lies and deceit that is written here. I know we believe, with heart and soul, in what we've been taught or what's been taught to us. But first, as I said, this is not our practice. And we're talking about our sisters and brothers and, those who are fallen before us, those who actually went, who have gone through the calamity, who has gone through the chaos, the destruction, the pain, the misery, the bloodshed. For those people, what were their choices, right? Did they choose this, right? Or was it forced upon them? And this is where we are when we we're talking about this, this book that everybody claimed today around the world and said that this book is a foundation of their faith, their practices. So we're actually here uncovering the truth about the book. And why I said not for people not to take this for face value, not everybody should read this and just believe every single word that is written there. We have to use common sense, So please, let's utilize that which the Most High has given us, right? When the Most High created man, He didn't create institutions or school. He created man with knowledge, with understanding, with wisdom. So we have to utilize that, my friend. modern days academia and these things don't enlighten you or give you something. This is just a recipe you're learning to function within a society that deems that. So your intelligence or intellectual skill is not based on just because you know how to read and write, right? My friend, my brothers, sisters out there, this is just a recipe, okay? So let's utilize the common sense that the Most High give us, the very thing that we use to connect to everything in the universe, the very thing that we use as a source to connect, to create, to invent, to build. This very thing that open our eyes, our I don't want to say third eye, but open up our eyes, right, to see that which is true and which is good and which is stable within our thoughts, and bring that to the surface. So with that, we have to use a common sense. That's the most important thing. I understand everybody would go back to what they already know. Because basically, when you learn something, when you learn this, it becomes a part of who you are, right? Whether you're influenced by the society or not, you will take this information, and this is what you're going to use. This is what going to be the guideline in your life for the rest of your life. Everything that you do is based on this program, that you induced, this program that you were taught. And this program is what you're going to use to determine on how you treat your brother. You're going to use this to analyze basically everything around you, right? So this is why you have to understand it, right? And this information that's been given to you, you'll use this to measure your love life, you'll deal with your friends in business, or whatever aspect of your life has to deal with you within the society. This basic programming that you have, that you learn from a child, it's what's going to take you. So first you have to understand who create this program and the purpose of it, right? So we have to always go back to the origin if we're trying to establish the truth. So when we can break everything down and go back to the origin of it, we understand how formal education, or what we know as formal education, where does it stand, when it comes to intelligence and intellectual or wise or wisdom, what you call that, right? How we utilize that and how we understand that by separating ourselves from where we at, separating ourselves from what we have learned or what we have been indoctrinated with before, so we can understand the origin of where things started. This is what we have to do when we're going into things like the Bible, and other things as well, that's pertaining to life itself, because someone out there is not being honest about everything that was set in place. And these things that were set in place were never set by honest people, that people that really care about humanity, that really care about the world and its progress. It wasn't set by these people. It was set by people who had an agenda, people who were greedy and wanted things for themselves, wanted everything for themselves. Those were the people who implemented these rules, right? Who put these rules in a certain context. And set this context is where we learn from, that they put in place. So this information, they created this information, so we have to learn it. And learning this, we dismiss our true ability, right? We put our ability aside, because our true ability, we're unable to cultivate that, because we believe that within this society, right, we have to work, we have to be productive, we have to do these different things in order to survive. If you didn't go to school, then you're stupid, you have no sense, you're no good, and society rejects you, right? So we have to understand, man, where we stand when it comes to understanding the levels, right? Understanding the levels of what we know, what we were taught, right? It's different. How are we going to know if all the information that we're learning, is there any validity to it? So we have to understand that. So we have to be able to break this down first. Having this understanding will unlock, you understand me, your true ability to see things more clearer. This is where we're at here when we talk here on the Naked Truth. So we're not here to absorb the things that were said. And I'm saying this even within the family, even within our family, and the practices, right? Not only the practices, but what we call tradition, what we call custom. These things develop over periods of time by different individuals, and everybody had their own bits and pieces to it, and it becomes something. It festers into something. Can be good, can be bad. Not that everything about it, our culture, what you call culture, is actually accurate 100%. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Because it's an idea. It's someone's idea, and what they believe, what they feel, that they think is right for them, right? And so this, they'll practice these things, and they'll teach their kids, because okay, it didn't affect them in any way, and because it didn't affect them, they feel okay, well, this is not causing any disruption between us. It more make us together, or more make us seems civilized. So people tend to, okay, continue doing what they're doing, regardless of whether it's wrong or it's right. So this is why we have to utilize the very common sense that the Most High give us. So, they taught you about senses, right? And the five senses and all of these different things and how they function. We have a thing called common sense, right? And this common sense teaches you everything. It means that you don't have to go anywhere to. The birds have it, the animals has it, all of them have it. It's an innate ability, right, to connect with the universe and the information that exists within the universe, and to open our understanding more when we are encountering probably a problem, or we run into something that we are trying to figure it. So it opens, right, our understanding more in figuring out things better, right? That's what the common sense does, and how it operates. So everything that was passed down from our generation to the other generation, and the people that conquered the melanated people, and where they learned their information, and now they compile their new information, excluding the melanated people out of it, right? Because you understand, it wasn't a casual meet or a friendly meet, right? Where you had the melanated people and Europeans meet, and they had an agreement, and they said, yes, we agree, we could work for you, and this is the amount we're going to pay. It was no agreement. They were kidnapped, they were taken out of their homes. It means that these people had nothing good, right? And they won't have anything good to say about you, definitely, or anything good within them to do for you. And now I'm saying this, majority of European people, right? Majority of them, it's impossible for them not to be racist. And I'm saying majority of them, right? And there are few of them, right? Because you talk about privilege. Privilege is something that you fall into it, right? And without even analyzing or learning about it, you become victim. Is like, when a baby is born, and when it reaches a certain age, it knows what to do. You need tell it to do anything anymore. It understand. It begin to learn from the environment, the surrounding. By just being in that space, this child would be influenced by whomever around it, right? So this influence is very strong. It take toll, and it, as I said, it helped to shape your mind, the way you think. Do you understand? It shape everything about you. So from that point, taking in everything within that surrounding, you grow up, and without questioning, it becomes normalized. It becomes so normal that you don't think it's something wrong, because you are not affected by this within the society, right? You won't be affected by it, so you wouldn't think that you're racist in any way, because you're not affected by someone treating you a certain way different. You haven't that experience. But the people that felt the pain, right? And I'm saying this as an example. The people that stand in front of the gun, right? They have a different feeling, a different fear from the people that's behind the trigger. If you're standing behind the gun, right, you're out of harm's way. But the people that are in front, the nozzle of the gun, right, they are waiting to see what's going to happen and who it's going to happen to. We don't know. And this is the fear that the melanated people live with. We don't know what, when, like going out, you don't know what's going to happen. When the cops is going to talk, is it me? Is it somebody else? Am I in line next? Who next behind me? This type of fear exists. Even it's not present in the present mind, but subconsciously it's there, right? And it's not something you live every day thinking about, but it's there. And we know, we understand the treatment that was given to us. So it's difficult between these two groups, right? That one has control and the other don't. Do you understand? The one with the control wasn't fear in their actions from the very beginning. So this has to make you think about, okay, there wasn't fear in the beginning. They lied in the beginning. They did a lot of things, murder, they killed in the beginning. How could you build yourself to trust them? Now, the people before you, which is our ancestors, right, who fought, who stood up, who died, and tried to defend themselves, they failed. They were outnumbered. Whether by there were guns there that they were afraid of, not to act out or not to do things. An example was made of their children. Wives were raped, daughters were taken away. So these things create a fear, right? And it breaks you down, not to defend anymore. You were broken, completely broken. So this is where the information would be distorted, right? So these people that didn't care about you have control of the educational system, these learning institutions. They put everything in place. You did not. None of the descendants of slaves had any contribution in putting information within this society. I'm talking about this particular society that you live in today, America and other European society around. You haven't contributed to that. And when I'm saying contributing, I mean you weren't there as a partner or a friend, and in that social gathering we said, okay, I have some ideas, let's do this. And what I'm saying is we weren't working together, basically, right? You were working for them for free, but you weren't working together as people trying to survive and elevate themselves and evolve the human race. It wasn't like that. So this is where you cannot be complacent, right? You have to think, okay, well, they didn't like us. Why would they tell you the truth? Why would they teach you if they studied you, your history, and if your history was the first, and if you were the first people, and then they are the second group that came in later on, why would they tell you that you had great civilization, that the wisest man that spoke about in the Bible were of your race or people? Why would they tell you that? They would gain nothing from this. But even they know it, they won't teach it in their institution. Whatever they taught, or whatever has been taught in their institution is based around what? How to contribute to the society, how to worship the men that did research and scientific breakthrough, all of these things. This is what you have learning, is to uphold white supremacy, is to keep it up here. And to all the scholars and everybody is white, and it's their doctrine. It's not yours. So why would they teach you something to contradict what they're trying to accomplish, right? For themselves, whether or not it is right or it's wrong to you, right? To them, they feel it's their obligation, they're obligated to do whatever they please under the circumstances that they want to do that. So they would do anything they want, whatever they feel is necessary for them to do, they will do that, right? The problem is, as a person that using their common sense, or a person that is wise or claim to be smart, if you didn't understand that, if it wasn't equal from the beginning, neither was it equal in the half or the quarter or the 3/4 to this very moment. Why would you think within yourself as a person with understanding that the people that treated you, right, and treated not you but your ancestors, and even it trickled down to this very moment where you've been treated a certain way, how and why would they have you put your interests or have your interests at heart? You'd be crazy to think that. You know what I'm saying? You'd be crazy to think that. It's like living among the most poisonous snake, right? And you're trying to live with them, and they're telling you, okay, we won't bite you again. They've bitten hundreds of your people and killed them, right? And somehow they're trying to convey to you, saying, Don't worry, we should live together, right? No, they want you to be food for them, or work for them, or help them through their struggles, right? So they say the snakes will tell you, I know we're poisonous. Well, they probably not, you they probably not relate information like that to you. You understand? Are giving information like that to you. But if they said, okay, why we can't be together, we could live together and be one and blah blah blah, and we won't bite you, but we won't bite you, but we know that that they're poisonous. How did people, especially the generation, right, of people that had that encounter when everything was chaotic, right? When people were dying and they were hunted, and people were dying left and right. And you're talking about, different places throughout the United States and the Caribbean. Sundown, sun up, sundown, my friend, you can't be caught in a certain place, or you'll be hunted like animals, right? And these people that face this atrocity, right? These people that have gone through all these things, in that moment, in that present moment, that had the fear of, seeing, what these people actually did and how they did it and how gruesome everything was and how they killed and, they plundered, and who they had mercy and no mercy on, and how did that generation pass on and didn't educate their sons and daughters of what these people were capable of? That now these people become so dependent, right? And striving more for inclusion when the people before them didn't want to include themselves. They wanted to separate. They wanted to escape because they know the danger that existed there, right? So they wanted to escape that. They wanted to leave. They wanted to get away as far as they could. So we have to think about that, right? So if these snakes are poisonous and they're telling you, yeah, yes, we live together, survive, the people that experience the bites before, who had to go to the process of trying to recover, who lose their hands and who lose feet and who amputate whatever just to, to survive, to live. What happened to their story? What happened to it that their children become so simple-minded that they believe everything the snake will tell them now, that it's okay. They could live in peace. But yet every now and then, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them has been killed. And if they're not killed, who's been harassed by these snakes, right? We have to be very careful how we take in information. And we have to be very careful what we're telling ourselves that we're learning based on a system that you have no part in. That you haven't lifted a pen to write the Constitution or anything, and it wasn't pertaining to you either, right? The Constitution was written for the people that conquered your ancestors, conquered our ancestors. They wouldn't teach you anything that would be, and that would be something that would make you feel like you're awoken. So you understand the message there. This is why we talk about the common sense, and now we have to utilize this. Without utilizing this, right, then we're just taking information from what's been set up. But set up by whom? Who set these information up? And are they valid enough for us? Right? Who set these information up? And this is what we have to go back to if we're trying to analyze and understand the beginning. With that said, we go back to this very book and the information that is written here, as I said before in prior videos. That the information here is not 100% accurate, not all of it, and not all of it is the complete word of the Most High either. And why we say this, because when we're reading this, you have to read this book and you have to compare it to reality. This is not a fictional thing, right? So you don't read this, and a lot of people, as I said, based on their teachings, what they have learned within the society, they will reference and they'll go back to reference to books that they think because they went to college or higher learning institution that they were exposed to more than what the ordinary institution would offer them. So they learn more. So they use that and said, "Oh well, I went to college and I've seen this and I've studied history 101 and blah blah blah." And you might learn in higher institution something more on a higher level than what you have learned here. Doesn't mean that it is actually true because you learn it in an institution that proclaimed to be higher than secondary and high school, right? Because the information that exists in the higher institution, higher learning institution, and the lower one wasn't created by you either. It was created by the same group of people. They put these information in place. For what? For themselves. What they want you to know. Yeah, greetings. Whatever you want to know, that's basically it. You want to learn this information, right? It's up to you, right? But this information that you're learning, it's based on their society. It's not to make you become wiser, right, about yourself. Do you understand? But it's to function within their society to do and to follow the guidelines and the rules here. So this is why we have to go back to the origin to understand this. That the people that put the information that you're going to reference to disclaim whether or not some of the things here is true, right? Or to claim that it is, you're going back to the information that wasn't set up by you or your ancestors. It was set up by the very people that conquered you. The very people, right, that brought you in bondage, that kidnapped you and bring you elsewhere, take you away from your home, separate your family. They put the information and spread it all over on how they want you. So when you go to the higher institution and learn, you're basically learning the same recipe that these men construct. So how could you say you know what is true or not? This is where common sense is going to come in, right? Because remember, you have to ask yourself, who certified the first teacher? Who said that they were certified enough to teach you? And where did they learn what they learned? Do you get what I'm saying? So this is accumulated information, right? Over years, people put pieces and different people come and add to it and bring it to the standard of what it is today. That I'm saying to you, common sense, right, is a tool that we all have it. You don't have to go to school to learn anything because all that is here and existed here, right? And the idea of what exists here, nobody learned in school. There was no school before or IS learning institutions. People learned this because of the common sense that was given to them by the Creator. The Most High created all things, right? And in the abundance of things, right? Information exists within the universe. Our mind, our brain, right? Greetings. Our brain acts as receptors, right? And the more we push ourselves, we don't have to push. We have the freedom to whatever we want. We could say, well, I'm not interested in that, so you don't want to learn it. Not everybody wants to drive. Not everybody wants to be a mechanic. Not everybody wants to do these things. We all have our own thing that we want to do. That's the freedom, my brothers. So it's easy for us, right, to connect with things that we would resonate with more. So it's very easy for us to connect to those things. We will connect to them, right? So the information that's put in these books doesn't determine whether or not you're going to be wise, you're going to be, smart, and they set standard as they talk about the IQ and within the learning system. We don't want to get into that part of it, right? But just to give you an idea, just to give you a simple idea of what it is that you're facing and why you have to understand it first before you begin to know what the truth is. Because if you bear weight on the information that's been presented to you, right, not by people that have your interests at heart, but people that find you the least interested, people that speak bad things about your ancestors, And not only that, did it ended with your ancestors, it continued, right? It still perpetuate this very day. What information can they give to you to uplift you? Are they going to give up what they have to put you in a position to rule over them? No, that will never happen, my friend. This is why you have to go back to the origin again and unlock your common sense, right? To understand the truth about what's here in this book. As I told you before, you read this book before, and it's many things inside of this book, right? There are a lot of things in here, right? As you know before, I've said in other videos, the book, right? This is not, and it wasn't a book like this before, with numbers and 2:1 and verse 1, 89. I mean, during the translation, this is when these men put these things, and whatever information they didn't understand, they would add to it. They would write to it, whatever it was. Hello, hello, welcome. Right? They would add to the information, and this is what they did with this book. Right? So when you read the book, there are a lot of things in there that you'd probably run into that doesn't make sense, right? You try to figure it out. You try to figure it out whether or not it's true. And not only that, these men who set their society up, they have their, what you call scholars, they have their scientists, they have their people to support their lies, right? To support what they put in place. So you find these men will come and, they would reaffirm, right? What you think that you learn within their institutions. They will reaffirm that, yes, of course. And because these men, according to the society, they will say, oh, well, I have accolades. I went learning for 15 years and I got my degree, my master, my bachelor, my doctorate, whatever. All these accolades, they'll mention this. And this is supposed to make you know everything. It doesn't. As I said, you learning something is just a recipe for whatever it is that you're learning or whatever you're trying to learn to understand how to do, right? If you want to be a mechanic, you go to school, you learn it because you didn't know it. So you want to understand how cars function and what it function, and somebody who knows that the information is there where you could learn it within these institutions, right? So you could go there and you could learn it. You're not exempt. That doesn't make you a fool because you didn't learn mechanic. The doctor is not a fool because the doctor practice things that doctor's supposed to practice. Is the doctor a fool because the doctor didn't learn mechanic and don't know how to fix their cars? Are they fools because they don't learn anything else besides doctorate? It's all a recipe, my friends. Welcome, thank you, welcome. So these words, you have to be very careful and how we look at life and how we look at things, how we measure things up. As I said, if we want to know the truth, then we have to go back to the origin. This is where you'll understand it from the beginning, not just to take the things that your parents left behind, their legacy, and said, okay, my mother said this. You have to question it and ask yourself whether or not, everything about this is correct. Otherwise, you'll be living your whole entire life a lie that you find later on that the house that you actually live in, that your parents told you that they built it, they didn't build it at all. They took it from someone. And the people that they took it from, they know it. And they teach their children, say, that's our house. One day we're going to get it. And then one day, there's an uprising. And then you see people running to your house with weapons and killing your kids and your family, trying to take back what they have. You're going to think that they are wrong to do it. It's not the children's fault that the parents lie to them about these things and have them thinking that this is what they are when they're not actually. But how foolish are the kids not to realize or not to unlock their common sense, knowing that, wait. Could everything my father, my mother told me is true? What if they were lied to and they're lying to me? Why shouldn't I question these things? And we have to question these things. We have to question them in order to get, the final result, and that's the most important thing. So I think this is why I try to explain to you guys here on The Naked Truth so you could know. So before we get into this book and start to talk about whether or not there are things here that is valid or not, Just to understand, just for you to understand this, right? Just for you just to have that understanding of what it is. You must know that the people who control the information here, they have an agenda, right? They do have an agenda, right? For those people who control the information, they could change it to shape the mind of how you think, what they want you to think, right? No, as I told you at the end of Revelation, you can read for yourself. It said, no man shall hide or take away from the book. And when they say this, someone is telling you that you should literally believe everything that the book is telling you. This very book is telling you. You shouldn't question it. You should just believe everything it says, right? That's a problem. But yet, if you go back into deeper history, you know that it wasn't this book that they call the Bible today, and it wasn't numbered and laid out this way. Not in this context at all. It was scrolls. How did it end up like this, right? And how many information was added to it? It's been conformed, right? This is why we have to, get back into ourselves, right? And to cultivate our common sense so that we're able to see through the lies and the deceit, right? So the Bible, as I said to you, my brothers and sisters, have many things in it. Things that align with what's happening in the world today, and things that don't. So it's not all of it, as you see the title of the video, is the Bible the complete word of God? And now we're in part 5 of this, trying to, give the people out there some understanding of what's taking place. And I definitely welcome anyone with any questions about anything that they want, me to answer. Definitely we can do that, because we're in the Bible mood. So when they're telling us that everything in the book, is valid and we should believe it without question, this is what a lot of Christian does. And the history is there. The truth is there. How we take the truth, right? How much we've learned about the truth. It's on us. A time is coming where a great change is going to take place. And the people that are ruling today, they won't be ruling again. This change is inevitable. And you have people who understand this. You have the elites, those men out there. The common people don't know what's going on. The common people always been tricked by their governments and those people in power. So the common people don't understand. They put the common people will fight each other because they don't know the full truth, the depth of the truth. So they'll fight with each other in debates and talking all kind of stuff. And all they're doing is confusing themselves more and more, because they're only taking references, as I said, and these references, right, weren't set up by them or their ancestors, were set up by someone. The very people that you're reading and debating about, they're the one who set up the reference points, right? So we have to learn these things. As I said, unlock the common sense, you get to understand what the truth is, right? So the book wasn't written like this in this context. And the names, very important. The very names in the book, as you can see how they changed, throughout the period of the time, everything been changed over to the people that are ruling today. So the ruling power couldn't just allow something, important as this information that is, important and has a great history to it, right? Connect with a lot of history. How could we allow the names to be relating and non-relating to us, and we are the rulers, right? It wouldn't fit. A person who are using their common sense would figure out, but wait a minute, the name doesn't match out. Why these characters have different name? And not only that they have different names, but we're talking about, if you go to the genealogy in Genesis, it's telling you these people name and giving you the name. I know difficult some of them is to pronounce because we're using the English language, as a way to communicate. So they're very difficult. But we know what English names are, and we know what the names that supposedly be Hebrew names are. But there are certain names that change, right, in the book. There are certain names that change in the book. When you go to the important characters, this is when the name change. So we're talking about, right? We're talking about Methuselah, right? What the name Methuselah? What does that sound like? It doesn't sound like English name, does it? Right? And there are many other names in the book, but those characters and the name doesn't. They're not famous in the history, right? So their name could remain. But you see, just pay attention how the people that the ruling power, how they were thinking, right? Because they have to put themselves in this book because this is very important. How could they not be in it? So when you read names like Daniel and Matthew and Mark and John, you're not talking about the actual characters or the actual people that live, thousands of years ago. We're talking about people that live in modern times. These were never their names. I know it's very confusing, right? Because I know you're talking about Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, but we're talking about Agar. We're talking about, all these other names, right? Nimrod, and we're talking about other groups of people who doesn't play an important part in the book, like Nimrod, right? He was a king, right? But Nimrod, right? That king, the king Nebuchadnezzar, we're talking about Nebuchadnezzar, right? The king of Babylon, right? And they didn't play an important part as far as, relating anything pertaining to spirituality or what people would call religion today, right? These men weren't about that. They were king, they were rulers. And they were only mentioned because Israel had an encounter with them. Right? So their name remains, right? Their name, Nebuchadnezzar, and all of these people named that are non-important to the spiritual context, right? Name remained the same way. Didn't change at all. But the names of the main characters who play an important role, which is, and I'm talking about the prophets, right? Paul, Peter, John, and just pay attention to those names. Those are not Hebrew names. But they'll tell you this. And they'll have their professors and their wise men within their society to defend it. They will tell you that the name is no important, that the name was translated into English language. I never heard that before. They tell us a lot of things and we're so gullible. A lot of us are so gullible to believe it. Oh, okay, this guy studied for 20 years and he have everything, all the qualification to speak on this topic. So we just absorb everything and said, okay, he's right, without questioning anything. It's ridiculous. Right? It's ridiculous how this happens. So they'll tell you that the name is not important, but pay attention to the confusion here. Now, we're talking about Peter, John, Paul, and all the supposing prophets, right? All of them name is changed to European name. None of them has a Hebrew name. What's going on? What happened to their Hebrew names? Not only that, the most important character, right? His name remains in Greek. How come that name didn't change into English as well? Right? Because as we know, the Greek conglomerate, as we know it about the Greeks, they are all white and European descent, right? Greeks. So, okay, we could keep the name there. We'll change the other names into the English language, but leave this name. But somehow, this name, they're unable to change it or, translate it into English, right? The name Jesus, which is a Greek name, right? So this name couldn't translate. For some reason, it couldn't. Why? But all the other names that pertain to the characters that had a connection talking about God and prophecies, their name were able to change. You get what I'm saying to you? So now, just pay attention to this. It's like you get a book from from China and the name is translated, but yo, we're not calling Yinghua anymore. We're calling him John. How is that possible? How is it possible? Because the very first thing that you learn, right? And I spoke about this before. The very first thing we learn in any language is the name of a person. The name of a person, right, represent them being a part of that nation or that group of people. Speaking the same tongue, so you'll hear the same type of connotation when you sound the name or say their names. Never change, right? It never change. So why is this important character name change? Right? And remember, the Messiah, right? The one that died and came for Israel, he's not a Greek person, right? He's supposed to be a Hebrew person. So what happened to his Hebrew name? Where is it? And then this is what they will tell you. Oh, it's not important. Name is not important. Oh, it wasn't important. Seems to me it's very important that you changed it. If it wasn't, you would have left it the very same way. Because we know, we have read about history about Genghis Khan. Who's Genghis Khan? Why Genghis Khan name didn't change into something else? Why didn't it change into John Wick or something else, right? But you've learned this in history. So apparently, people from the Han Society or those within China and Asia, name remained the same way in their history, never changed. Whether the Chinese, the word to understand the context of the story change, right? But the name itself cannot change. The name of the Messiah, right, were taken out of the book. It didn't change. They didn't want that name in the book. And then the other prophets' name were changed to represent the other group of people, right? As if they were a part of the history when they were not. Very simple, my friends. So the name didn't change because, right? It didn't. Didn't change because, oh, well, we're doing translation and this is how it happened. Nobody knew who the Messiah was except for Israel and in the place where we were, right? And who we were preaching to at the time would have known his name. But somehow the book tells us that asking my name and it shall be given, right? Now it was important to remove that name. If you're going to ask in this person's name and you get something, and we know of the history of these people who call upon their God and their God come and deliver them out of Egypt, out of their captivity, why would we leave this name? Wouldn't this be dangerous to leave this name that could activate something that will destroy us who trying to build our civilization and having these people as slaves now? Why should we even tell them what the name is? Let's remove it. So they removed the name of the Creator and they removed the name of the Messiah out of the book. And they gave you Jesus. Right? And they proudly promote this Jesus. But everyone feel, right? What everyone failed to question is, how come a Hebrew person has a Greek name? And how come, just like the other names that existed when during the Greek translation, why only that name was translated? What happened to the other prophets? And why their name changed or were able to change from Greek into English, but one name couldn't change at all from Greek to English. It remained the same. Right? Very, very confusing, right? This is what I'm telling you, my people. Not everything in this book is valid. This is why you have to pay attention. So we're in part 5. We are in part 5, right? And we're trying to establish. We're not trying. I want to say we're establishing the truth, right? And people need to know the truth, because let me tell you something. Whether you like it or not, I'm talking about the inhabitants of the earth out there today, living in different areas. Whether you like it or not, if the Most High say, the Most High that create all things, the Most High who created the water, the food, the fruits, the animals, life, human beings on the planet, the sun, the star, the moon, all these things, the creator who create all of these things, if he says that in the end he's going to deliver his people or the people that were chosen by him, then you must mark his word that it's going to happen. It doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter whether you feel like you're not a part of it and you're trying to include yourself. And it doesn't matter if you deny the people, the very people that were chosen by him. Doesn't matter if you call them whatever names you want to call them. Doesn't matter if you look down upon them and you try to withhold information and you try to hide. It doesn't matter what you do. You cannot delay the inevitable. It is going to happen whether you like it or not. There's nothing you can do to stop it. It is going to happen. And this is why we have to understand, right, when we're talking about Bible, we need to understand this. We need to understand the truth about the scriptures before we begin to go out there. And a lot of people, I'm saying to you, go out there and they're on these platforms and they're talking and they don't know what they're talking about. Everybody looking for clout, everybody looking to get views and these other things. You understand me? So their mind is on what? Wealth, right? Their mind is on money, trying to earn something. So they're out there pretending to do things or saying what they think they know, what they were indoctrinated with. I tell you, the book has really already explained to us, right? Woe be unto the shepherd that lead the sheep astray. So before you go out there and begin to talk something, make sure you know what you're saying. Make sure that you do your research. Make sure not just you go on Google and ask questions, right? And you don't want to go the extended route to find the information that is necessary. You have to make sure that you put your mind to something, right? And your heart into it and using your common sense, that which the Most High has given us, so that we can unlock, right, our ability, our true ability, so we can see clearly what is in front of us, what's been presented to us. See, we would sit here and we would talk a lot of things, right? And there are a lot of error within this society where we live. I'm not lying to you, right? And I've said this before. And just let me give you an example, which I've given you this example if, for those of you who have watched the video, right? They said 4 weeks make a month. But yet we have 31 days, we have 30 days, right? We have 29 days, right? And we know mathematically it's incorrect. But nobody question and ask question. We just, okay, whatever. So you're basically living a lie comfortably without saying anything about it. And this is what's accepted within that society. They say, oh yeah, it's good. We can do this, it's okay. There's no problem with it. As long as we can, right? As long as we can, right, function and earn money and do everything, it's okay. So what? You know, the same thing they tell you with the name, right? Oh, the name, nothing wrong. The name doesn't matter. But I guarantee you, if you go to Russia, they could tell you about the iPhone, right? And they would call it iPhone. I'm sure they're not going to translate it in their language, right? And I'm sure if you go to China, speak of the iPhone, it's going to be iPhone there, right? I'm sure if you go to Russia and you talk about Bob Marley, it's going to be Bob Marley. It's not going to translate to their what name they have, right? And I'm sure if you go to Japan and talk about Michael Jackson, and in Asia and talk about him, they're going to know his name, right, as Michael Jackson. Now, with their accent, they might say it a little different, right? But you would know that they're talking about Michael Jackson. You would know that they're talking about, you understand me? You'd know that they're talking about Bob Marley. You'd know these things because the name, as I said, my people, that's the very first thing you learn in somebody's language. If you go to Russia and introduce yourself, that's what you're going to do. My name is Wayne. And they say, what? Wayne? What? Now say it until they get it. You say, yeah, Wayne. No, they might not get it because you have to sit down hours. Some people are witty than others, right? But nevertheless, you would at some point you say, yeah, that's it. It sounds close. You would agree and say, yeah, that's it. And that's the name they would know you by. If they have never seen you and that's your first time going to this place, of course, it would only be right that you tell someone your name. You go to China, you go to Russia, Germany, anywhere you go, the first thing you're going to learn is the person's name. But why the name of the Messiah changed in the Bible? And everybody pretend as it's nothing. We don't care. But yet the Messiah said, ask in my name and it shall be given. What name shall you ask and it's given to you? Right? Because if the name is not there, it means that you cannot utilize it. If you don't say, hey Siri, right? For Siri to aid you in giving you information, how are you going to get her? How are you going to summon her? Say some Chinese name or say some Russian name or some German name and see if hey Siri is going to respond to you. It's not. So it's ridiculous that the name becomes nothing when it's actually important. You cannot say that to Siri if you don't say, hey Siri, and right, there is a code there to activate, right, that functionality for it to respond to you. Say something else and see if it will respond. Just say it. It's not going to respond to you. Just take your phone out and test it out and see. It's not going to respond to you because it doesn't recognize that. So you wonder sometime in the churches why people often, our church sisters and brothers who go out and, they church, one of their church members is sick and they pray and nothing happened. You have to wonder why it doesn't happen, right? You understand what I'm saying to you? Why this wouldn't happen? It's because whoever they're worshiping and the name that they're calling, and this is not the name of the Messiah. It's not the name. So you won't get any response. You won't get any result. And I guarantee you could say it, Christians, theologians, whoever you are, you can't say the same thing. Oh, well, he helped me out and he helped me out. The pastor can't say anything because he's ripping off the members of the church anyways. Right? They're ripping off the members of the church and he's living luxuriously while everybody else is struggling to make it. Everybody trying to make it and he's rich, flying in jets, going to different cities. You can't even help you. If you need a loan, I'm saying a loan, just a loan to help out with some bills, you can't get it from your pastor. He's not going to give it because he understands that Christianity is a business. It's not what you think. It's just a business, my friend. You understand? And most of the proceeds go back to where? Rome. Back to Rome. So, however we want to measure this, however we want to, right? It's not difficult to see the truth. The truth is right there. It's just that people don't want to see it. You don't want to see it because it's new, something new. I remember when cellular phone, the transition of the new phone began when Apple came out with the first touch screen, and nobody wanted it. A lot of people, I don't know, changes was difficult for them to come to accept. A lot of people didn't want that, so a lot of people, I'd rather my flip phone. And a lot of people kept it for a while, but they understand that change is inevitable, my friend. So after a while, everybody get jumping on board now. They know that, well, this is it. The older generation and the older people that time, they don't want anything to do with it. The younger one would take it and experiment with it and do whatever they can. Older people didn't want that. They rather their flip phone, what they have with Dave Dean, because so changes is very difficult for a lot of people to accept when that comes. It seems like it's a conspiracy theory around the church, and that there's a group of people that's been held back, and people would say, "Oh, it's a conspiracy. It's not true." Of course, you're going to say that. You would say that. Anybody would say that. If you're not in the predicament of the people that felt this way, you would say it because you haven't faced it. So therefore, you can't support that which you never face above the experience of it. So you would think everything is okay. So my people, I'm telling you this. It's important to know the name. Nothing. You cannot conjure spirit, right? Or cast a spell. If the spell changes in another language, if you have to cast a spell right now to open, right? Say you're opening the rock for water to come out. And there's a spell that was set from the beginning of time for that particular place. Whether you speak English, whether you speak French, Spanish, Swahili, whatever language you speak, you have to learn that particular language to access that, to even have access to that spell, to even utter those words for that spell to work. You must know the very language that the spell is written in. It's important. So you can't go to the well speaking in your language and expect to get result. Ridiculous. This is why when we speak about the Bible, right, and we talk about the language and how it's been translated into English, for what reasons, right? Because this book, or the history, I should say, belonged to a group of people. A group of people that were taken into slavery at a certain point, according to the Bible, right, and history itself. So a lot of people would look at this Bible and say it's the foundation of their faith. How did this become that? Because Christianity was the one, right? Through the Roman occupation, the Roman control, they begin to push this idea, right? That this book belongs to everyone and it's been publicized around the world. But yet when people are reading it, they don't find anything substantial about themselves. When different cultures, everybody has their own culture. See, the Most High wouldn't do that, wouldn't allow another culture to influence other cultures. We're different, otherwise would all be one. And when he spoke about us, he would be speaking about everybody. Notice, when the Most High is speaking about the children of Israel, he said that he men of Israel, right? And when he's talking about everyone, he said the inhabitants of the earth, right? Never use the term world. He said inhabitants of the earth, right? He's talking to everyone. Right? Notice when he used inhabitants of the earth, he's not mentioning much about anything else. Because he's not talking to the other group of people. Understand this. All the other groups that existed out there during the time, they had their gods. Every single one of them had their own gods and they were very comfortable with it. The reason why a lot of people is holding on to this because it was forced on them. A lot of cultures around the world today, I lie to you not. A lot of cultures around the world today, this was forced on them by Christians, missionaries. They forced this idea on them. So now when you read the Bible and you talk about different things and and they would teach a certain passage in the book, right? Right? But so when you read the book and it talks about some very cruel thing that you might consider cruelty in Israel and how these people live and conduct themselves and what they eat and what they didn't. If you are bringing this into a new culture, you have to understand what you have to do to this book for people to actually accept it in their culture. If they're used to eating pork, they're not going to put this aside. They're not going to put their pork aside to fall to this. They will take probably some of the teachings from it, but they said, no, why we got to, why? Why we have to put our pork? We've been eating pork. My mother, grandmother, blah, blah, been eating it. Why should we stop? This is why you find people who read this book still doing things that they feel that is necessary for them within their culture. Because this information doesn't belong to them, nor their culture. It was forced upon them, right? This is why when they read this book, they will pick and they will cherry pick what they think is good for them within the book. That's it. They don't want anything else. We're not going to follow everything. Tell me which country or one country, name it today, that follow everything in this book, T to T. No. They'll even tell you that the law, the statutes and commandments don't exist anymore. Right? And that's the whole, they will tell you that it's an old law. Because, of course, how could you not follow everything here? Right? You have to change it. Right? For other groups and other cultures to accept it because this is not what they're used to. So you have to write in the book now that, the old commandment is no longer functional because that's the Old Testament. You don't need that anymore. And get the biggest deception, right? Is to tell everybody that, listen, doesn't matter what you do, right? Kill, rape, murder, do everything, and just wake up tomorrow and say you believe in Jesus. That's it. And guess what? you will be saved. That's it. Now, if that's not giving you the assurance, right, to continue doing your evil and wickedness in the earth, and then telling people that they have a chance to redeem themselves and go to this place called heaven in the end, right? So do whatever you want, kill, rape, whatever you want to do. But guess what? This doesn't reflect in their society at all. Think about that. It doesn't. Can you run a stoplight and say you believe in the Constitution or you believe in the law of the country? Can you do that? Go to the judge and say, Judge, I believe in this law and I believe in fairness and I believe that you will forgive me for this ticket. No, he won't. You have to pay the $150 or more, right? You'll have to pay that. So it doesn't work like that. Just to see that they don't practice the very thing that they're saying and contrary to to what's written in the book. They don't follow this. None of them follow this. As I said, they want to say God and they want to claim right to God and they want to do all of these things, but they have no connection whatsoever to the Creator himself. Because the book already told us that he chose the people and he gave them laws, statutes, and commandments, things that they should live by. Not everyone outside is going to follow those things. Not everyone outside is going to follow those laws and rules because they cannot. The nation would not be divided if this was the intention of the Creator himself who created all things. Wasn't for them to go out to go shape somebody else's future. The Most High has never reached out to any nation and say, oh, we need to go gather the other nations and bring them in. He have never done that. You understand? He has never done that. Christianity is teaching us that. Christianity is telling you that, you know, the Most High wants you to be saved in the end, that he wants you to be saved, right? He don't want you to die and to do bad things. He wants you to live. This is their rhetorics, right? This is what they go around the world with their missionary and their teaching. Corrupting people every day. As I said, the book was given. If you're from another culture and you're reading this book and it's not saying anything, say you're from another country, right? Say Russia. You're reading this book. It's not mentioning anything about Russian. Why it's not saying anything about Russian? The names in the book is not even Russian either. Why Russian don't have a copy with Russian characters and Russian name? It's not saying anything. It's indicating all the time about just a specific group. Why? Why is it saying just Israel? In the end, the promise, the laws, giving of the law, all go unto Israel. Why is that? So where is our place then? Did you understand what I'm saying? This is what Christianity did. Force this on other groups, right? Convert them to become Christians, saying that that's the new religion that they use to conquer a lot of places and people. You know? That's the problem. So when you read the book, it's telling you about everything going to Israel, right? The giving of the law, right? The blessings, everything. In the end, it's going back to Israel, right? So if you go to Romans 1 through 14 and read there, you will see it. Right? It said to whom pertaineth, right? The adoption, the glory, and the covenant, and the giving of the law, right? And the service of God, and the promise, whose are the fathers, and of whom, as concerning the flesh, Christ came. Concerning the flesh, Christ came. Christ came for them. You always say, and for whom, right? For whom, as concerning the flesh, Christ came. Who is over all. God bless be forever. Now you go to Romans, you read that, you're going to see everything is going to Israel. Right? So if you're a people reading outside, why your name is not there? It's not saying all the inhabitants of the earth. It's giving specific about a particular group. It didn't say that the Japanese or the Russians and the Phoenicians and whoever else is going to be a part of everything. Didn't say that. Never said that at all. So where do we stand in the position where we stand today? And why do we think the way we think? Because this was forced on a lot of cultures. Cultures that had nothing to do with this. Cultures that didn't know about this. This book was stolen. I want to say book. The scrolls were stolen from Jerusalem. And if you go into history, you'll find that yourself. In 70 AD, Jerusalem was destroyed, right? And by Rome. Right? And Rome took all their valuables, all information, the spoil of war. That's what happened. This is how this information ended up into Rome, into the Romans' hand. And guess who pushed Christianity? Rome. The very people that took this book become the head, right? And said they're the children of the Most High. And they'll tell you that the Israelite don't exist no more. And they'll tell you all kind of lies because they sold out, right? The Christ. So he had nothing to do with them anymore. This is ridiculous, right? But yet, when you read Romans 14, go out there, it's going to tell you. But they don't exist anymore because we're talking about replacement theology. And now, in the end, the book talk about the same people. When you read the book, it's telling you in the end that they're going to be the ones, right, who's going to wake up. Right? So how are they going to wake up if the Creator has nothing to do with them? See? But you see, when you go to church, they will cherry pick certain things to teach you there. They don't want you to speak about anything. They just want to teach you, tell you what you need to know. But there are the valuable information here that they're not going to tell you in the church. You would never hear those things, right? So they'll make you think, and you will comfort yourself living in wickedness and doing wrongs and doing everything to corrupt yourself more, because these men, they know that they're not going to this place that they're telling you that you're going, to heaven. You read the book for yourselves, my friend, my brothers and sisters. The Bible tells you that in heaven there are 12 doors, right? And on these doors are written the name of the tribe of Israel, the 12 tribes, and the 12 doors. Hear what I'm saying to you? 12 doors, right? In this place, 12, right? And on the 12 doors, the name of the children of Israel are written there. So think about this, right? This book is talking about Israel, 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 and Israel, and Israel, and Israel. To the very end, it's talking about Israel who's going to get the blessing. Talk about Jacob, and it talk about the older brother have to serve the younger one, right? And think about that for a second. But when the yoke from the older brother neck is pulled, he's going to rule for a period of time. But guess what's going to happen? The younger brother is going to take back control because the blessing is already given to him. Right? So this is what we have to go back into, right? If we're trying to figure out what is truthful or not, right? We have to go back into this. So the Messiah himself speak of this. He said, when Jerusalem is compassed with army, mean that the desolation there of his night. He was telling them that at a time Jerusalem would be destroyed, right? And you'll no longer be in that city anymore. Now, if you read Deuteronomy 28 through 68, it will tell you there again, shall take you into Egypt again, this time with ships. Where I speak unto you, will see no more. Right? So the Messiah was telling them that Jerusalem would be destroyed at some point. This is the last captivity that they would be in. And they would scatter among all the nation, from one ends of the earth to the other. They will be there. And there they would serve their enemies, right? And they will be sold for bondmen and bondwomen. There they will be, and they'll serve their enemy, right? And they will be the tail. They won't be the head anymore. And it even break it down, to specifics for people who are interested in the prophecy and knowing who the prophecy is relating to. It tells us that they will be the tail. You know what the tail is? The last portion, the last tip at the end. That's what it is. It's not even a portion of the body. It's all the way behind. Past the anus and go all the way out. That's where the tail start from. You understand what I'm saying to you? The prophecy specifically break everything down. You cannot miss it. If you miss it, it's because you want to. Right? If you don't want to believe it, it's because you don't want to. It's because you read it and you're denying the truth in the presence of the Most High. But it's there. He told you who they would be and said they'll be the least wherever they are. Said there won't be no might in their hands towards their enemy, mean they cannot stand up. They won't be able to defend themselves against their enemies. Their enemies, in wants and need of all things. Their enemies. That's where they're going to get it from. Not, they don't have the ability to have anything for themselves. Everything has to go through their enemies for them to get it. So it's very specific about the group of people. It even go in details again, more specific. It said they'll be called a what? A byword. What's a byword? I would implore you guys to look it up. Research that yourself and see what the byword is. There will be an astonishment to all nation. All nation, not just one nation. Everybody would look at them a certain way, different. Everyone. The Messiah said they don't love me or my Father, so they will hate you also. They've been hated by everyone too, as well. Specific prophecies that relating to a group of people that you will see happen every single where among every other nation of people. Tell me which group of people has been treated differently among the other groups that exist out there. Yeah. I'm telling you, my brother, the prophecy is very true and it's specific in its context. The Most High is not a God of confusion. You have to understand the Most High with his power, right? Unable to make mistake. This is why I said if one of my word pass, that means heaven and earth have to be destroyed, right? It's impossible. He's telling you that it's impossible for what he says not to be true. It means that you cannot compare another nation of people or two nations of people who are facing the same thing and to say that, yes, oh, I've seen these people, so that's not a prophecy. He was specific what would happen to them, right? He was specific, said they would go into Israel again, this time with ships. Not only that, he said a nation will come against you, who you and your ancestors have not known. And they will have not love for the neither the young or the old. I mean, come on. History is there to prove all of it. You know who they are. Everybody know who they are. The very people that are rejected, the very people that are treated the worst among all people that are living today on this planet. And everybody know who they are. Everybody don't want to say because it makes them uncomfortable to say it. Everybody knows who they are and know how they've been treated. And even those within themselves know how they treat them as well. They hate you without a cause. The Bible already tell you that. Ask them. Ask them why they hate you. So why you hate us? They don't know. Just ask them. If you are a melanated person, just go out and ask a person that is racist and prejudiced against you. Go to the Ku Klux Klan and ask them, why do they hate you? What did you do to them for them to hate you? Go ask the Russians and the Germans and the Chinese and Japanese. So why do you hate us? They even teach their children not to be with us, not to date us, nothing. Just ask them why they hate you. I don't know. I just don't like you. Because the Most High put it's in their spirit. They can't get rid of it. They don't know why. They can't explain it. They cannot break this down to you in any way to tell you why they hate you. But they hate you. Right? That's my point, my people. So the prophecy is specific. It told you what would happen. It said you'd plant a vineyard and someone else would eat of it. You wouldn't get anything from it. What happened when they were in the Caribbean cutting cane and planting and picking cotton and whatever they needed to pick? And what happened? They weren't able to get anything from it. The book tells you so they would run, they would try to go against their enemies. And they would go one way and run seven. You understand me? They won't be able to defeat. They won't have an army. They won't have an army that you know about these huge armies around the world today, right? They won't have an army, right? to defend themselves from nothing, because the Most High said they will have no might in their hands towards their enemy. None whatsoever. So they can't stand up. Go call your army and come back. Go ahead. Tell me of a person or a black army that you know right now. Tell me. Which army, which is the largest army you know that a black person or a black country has? They have no army. Nothing compared to China, Russia, Germany, England, and all these European countries. They have nothing. And I'm talking about these people who enslave these people, these group of people. They can't defend themselves from that. So what I'm saying to you is that you have to pay attention to what's happening here. Pay attention to it, because it's very important that the people around you, the book tell us many places, the stone that the builder refused, right, will be the head. The very people, you have to think about it, right? If a hero, right, is coming to save people, who would they come to save? Would they come to save the people that are living good and comfortable and rich, right? Who would they save? Wouldn't it be the people that's been facing atrocity over and over and over? The people that has there's no justice for them. The people who can't find peace. The people who's been marginalized and treated less than humans. Wouldn't it be that a hero, right, would be coming, or a champion would come to defend? Who would they come to defend? Who? The rich, who already living comfortable and good, or the people that are facing tribulation and suffering? The Bible tells us that in Revelation. I know thy works, thy tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich, said blasphemer unto those who say that they are Jews but are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan, right? Now the book is telling us that there is someone or some people who are going to claim that they are the people that who are not. This is not what I said. This is what the book says. Somebody was going to do that. Not only that, the Messiah said it as well, that someone was going to come and say that they are the Christ, and they are not either. So we have this happening. This is why we have Jesus and we have the Messiah. And the reason why I use Messiah, right? Right? And I don't use this Jesus thing that came out of wherever it came from the Greek, and I don't use that, right? And the reason why I used the Messiah, I rather use that because it's a deliverer, right? According to the definition, right? And that's why I use that. I don't know who this Jesus person is. I know that this name is attached to something that I know and everybody else know, and our grandmother and grandparents, which is a white European person with blue eyes, right? That's who Jesus is. I don't know if Jesus being a prophet, the prophets that I've studied, right, and I've learned about. I know this Jesus is not that. You understand me? So I know that they talk about the Antichrist, and we know what anti is, right? So whatever this Antichrist is, it's doing is trying to replicate what the original did, right? Using his ways of interpreting or expressing that, right? But it's not true at all. One of them is not. And I believe people today, a lot of us have been tricked. A lot of people has been tricked believing this. And as I said, Christianity is the root of all of this. They are the root of all of this. You understand? I'm felt sorry for a lot of our people that are falling before, and our people that left this world without understanding the truth of what lies, in darkness that they didn't see or didn't get a glimpse at. They passed on comfortably, thinking that they already gained and obtained salvation, but they didn't. They've been tricked all along. You've been tricked. Christianity and the church is the root of the Israelite destruction. They are the root of it. Do you understand me? They are the root of it. How could in 70 AD, the very people that slaughtered millions of Hebrew Israelites become the pillar? How could they become the pillar of righteousness? When did this happen? To the point they take this book and they try to conform it. And they do all kind of sorcery and all kind of things. How did this happen? This is what you have to look into. Pay attention, my people. All the churches out there. What does it have on? What's the symbol of the church? The cross, right? The cross is a symbol. That's a symbol of the church. That's pagan. It's paganistic. That has nothing to do with the Creator. The Most High and His people don't believe in idol worshiping. The Most High said, I'm a jealous God. You shall serve, have no other God but me. There is nobody else. I am your God and you're my people. This has nothing to do with no cross. Where did the cross come from? Wasn't it something that the Romans thought about? A wicked, evil way how to kill and execute people? Wasn't the cross that they came up with and said we could nail them on this? Was it a cruel way? And now people are using it, right, as a symbol to represent their beliefs, right? And carrying it around their necks, think it's going to save them. Ridiculous, right? That this cross is the very thing that the Romans came up with to execute and kill people on. Lives were taking, right? And now it becomes what it becomes? A relic. Something important that everybody has to have it. You hang it up at your door because it's going to ward off demons. My friend, all it's doing is inviting demons in your house because it has nothing to do with the Creator. And the Creator has nothing to do with that cross, right? Rome is behind all of this. And we're definitely going to break this down for you guys, man. I'm telling you, it's a lot to uncover in just one segment. But we have to pay attention to what's happening around us. And we have to pay attention to the prophecies. And we have to align the prophecies with reality to see who the people. You will know when you begin to do this. And I'll tell you again, my people, Deuteronomy 28 through 68, it will explain to you who the people are. There was a blessing and there was a curse. Now, somehow, you have the people today are the Jewish people who will debunk the idea that no, this was way back then and it didn't happen and all of these things because they can't align themselves with the prophecy. So they'll tell you that it happened in a time when nobody have, information or can prove, say, yeah, this happened then. But we see the prophecy happen today within a group of people. We have seen it. We haven't seen it around the world. We have seen it with a group of people that the book spoke about that they will be scattered, right? We have seen those people scattered. And he said they will be the tail. We have seen them being the tail. He said the strangers among you will be lifted up higher than you too. Even it break down into specifics. We have seen that the strangers among you shall be higher than you as well. We have seen within the community where other groups of people come and succeed in business doing that. So we have seen these things happen. So how could we deny the truth still? Because you know why? They cannot change in their heart. They will never change. The Most High make sure of this, that they will remain this way. And I would say this to all the people out there. If you're wise enough, free yourself from the mental chains. Free yourself from that and find the Creator, because it won't be a pretty hen. It won't be a good ending for you guys. So if you sit and absorb the lies and just for the comfort and just to get just for the profits, right? Just for the privileged, you sit and you say nothing because that's what you want. You want to indulge. You want to gain from that which your ancestors stole and left behind, and you want to give it up. Good for you. I would say keep it. Live good and enjoy yourself. There is a judgment coming, though. And it cannot be stopped. It won't be stopped. Just like what the Most High did in Egypt. I know you guys remember what he did to Pharaoh. Pharaoh, oh Pharaoh, didn't want to release the people. And even when he decided to do that, what did the Most High do again? He hardened his heart, because the Most High said, you know what? I'm going to use you as an example to display my power, so that my people that I've chosen will see and know how much I have loved them. That's what he's going to do when he return to gather his people. Now he said it, he's going to return and gather them. So I'm wondering which people are going to be gathered. And he told us clearly who the people were that would be gathered in the last days. And that the end times prophecy rotates around these people. When they begin to get together, that's when everything will be coming to an end. You'll begin to see changes around. When these people begin to come together, they don't know now. A lot of them don't know who they are. They're still lost. So I'm trying to figure out these people who claim that they are, the people of the Most High, but yet they're very successful in doing so. What happened now? This doesn't fit the prophecy, right? None of it. None of it fit the prophecy that they claim. Their claims doesn't fit in with the prophecy. But I could tell you a group of people that their claim fit exactly what the book is saying. And no other nation outside, none, would be able to fit the prophecy if the prophecy is not about them. There is no other nation. The Most High would not allow any other nation to fill this space. If the prophecy is not about them, then they wouldn't find anything in the book to even compare themselves. We can't use war. War is a common thing that was fought among all nations of people. Notice he didn't say, oh, they would go to war and they would die. No. He said their enemy would kill them, right? And it tells you in specific that their bodies, right, will be in the field, right? For the bird of the year and the beast of the field to eat, right? When they would hunt these slaves and kill them and murder them and hang them on the trees, and then the crows will come and pluck their eyes out. And if you know this song, is called Strange Fruits Swinging on the Poplar's Tree. I don't forget the artist's name that sing that song, right? We're talking about slavery. I know the slaves were hung on these trees and they would be there for days hanging, and then, they said their body would be there. They wouldn't be buried. In specifics, right? Said they will be on the corner. You will see them on the corner on the street side. You will see them there. That's where they'll be hanging out. They don't even know why they hang out. That's what they will do. So the Bible already gives you an idea of who the people are. And you'd recognize it when you see them. You'll see, okay, that's what they're doing. It tells you, right, the name that they will be called, right? And the byword that they would be called. And they will be an astonishment to all people. They'll be hated by all nations of people. Now, you could do the maths yourself. I'm just telling you the truth, my friends, my brothers and sisters out there. And this truth, a lot of people don't want to deal with it because it doesn't make them feel comfortable. For today, a lot of people would say, why would God choose a people? Why would your manager choose, or your boss chose a manager, right? Why would he choose a manager out of all the employees in the workspace? Why would he choose a manager? Why would he come there and say, okay, I'm choosing you to run my company? Why? Why would he do that? Because not everybody was qualified to be a manager. Not everybody qualified to be a leader either. So people will be chosen, so they will say this to deny the fact, or not to accept the truth about who the people are. Why would God just choose one? That's what he did. He explained to them, unless he's a liar, right? And the Most High will be lying, right? He would be lying to say that I chose Israel as a people that I loved, right? He would be lying to us for the same purpose that the Messiah came. That Christian tried to twist it and said, oh, he came for everyone. No, he didn't. Sorry, the Messiah didn't come for everyone. I believe Jesus probably came for everyone that was converted into Christianity. But the Messiah, the real person, not the Antichrist, came for Israel to deliver his people. As you read the Bible, it will express that to you as well. Said, I shall raise up an arm in David to save his people. Christ supposed to be after the order of Melchizedek, the same priesthood. It was the Levites who took birds or whatever sacrifices to atone for Israel's sin. And in the last days is the Messiah who shed his blood to atone for the Israelite sins. The reason why he came was for the fact that Israel would be cast out in the last days. There will be a last captivity that they would not recover from. If you go to Jeremiah, I will tell you that they will be discontinued from their heritage, meaning that they will be lost completely. They will lose everything. It won't be a culture that they're going to carry on from that time to now. They will lose it. They will lose their language. They will no longer know who they are. This is a part of the curse, right? They would lost everything. So there won't be no priest anymore, as I explained this last week. There won't be no Levi to atone for their sins anymore. And there will be great sin upon Israel in this time, wherever they are living among the other nations. They're going to commit insidious acts against each other, against themselves. They'll be killing each other, not knowing why, because the book tells you again, they will have an evil eye toward their brother. Mother will hate mother, sister will hate, and these things you will see happen. They'll be killing each other. They'll have their baby and they'll eat it. And a lot of people believe this is just a parable, my friends. It's not actually eating it, right? You know? But what they will be doing to this child is killing the child. You understand me? Disowning it. These things will be happening. So you have to pay attention. The Messiah knew that there would be no community of priesthood anymore. How would Israel redeem themselves to the Creator? Something has to be there for them. So when they are ready, or when they begin to understand what took place with them, then they could call upon this, and whatever sins exist within them will be deleted, right? Because the blood is already there for them. Their own brother came and shed his blood to redeem them back into the fold. So the Messiah didn't come for everyone. He came for Israel, so that Israel would be awoken in the last days. They wasn't going to find themselves. Every captivity they went in, what happened? When they was in Egypt, what did they do? Right? When they were in Egypt, what did they do? They were praying to God. They worshiped him. When they was in the Greek captivity, it's the same thing. When they was in the Babylonian captivity, it was the same thing, right? When the Philistine had them in captivity, it was the same thing. Every captivity that they were in, they had their culture, they had their custom. They didn't lose anything, basically, right? So they were able to call upon the Creator name at any time, right? As long as they begin to serve him with their mind, their hearts, and soul, he said, I'll come and I'll deliver you. So they did so, when they cry out and said that the pressure of them, what they were facing in the Philistine, he said, okay, you're going to bear a son and you should call him Samson, right? And he's going to deliver Israel, and that's what happened. He delivered them from their enemy. In the last captivity, the Messiah told them to leave Jerusalem, and those who are living in the city should flee to the mountains. So this is what happened. He knows that in the last days there won't be No more priesthood, because all of them will be in captivity. Every single one of them will be in captivity. Who's going to save them? Who would save them? See, the Most High is very genius in his work. So you know that the Messiah, he had to send him to shed his blood to deliver them in the last days. It wasn't to deliver them that moment. But in the last days, that blood would be there to atone. Something has to be there to atone for the sins of the people. Right? The Bible explains what is sin. Sin is what? Transgressing the law. Who got the law? Israel. Why it's only Israel alone get punished? So what happened to the other nation? They're saying that he came for everyone. What happened to them? Why aren't all people punished for the law? Because the law wasn't given to them, it was given to Israel. If it was, the whole population of the earth would be punished. It means a new species from outer space or somewhere would have came here and enslaved the whole inhabitants of the earth. Is it like that? No, it's not. So Israel were the only group of people that were scattered and tossed into bondage. For years, they've been going through this. Even Jeremiah said, what? My people are going to always continually be a slave forever? Because they always transgress the law. And when they do so, the Most High said he'll punish them for it. And he punished them. And he've always punished them. But when they find them way back, he delivered them out of the hands of their enemy. So this is an ongoing thing with Israel. And the Most High already knew that there was a time that they were going to be lost. And this is why the Messiah, for many years, many years, they've been going through this. And they endure to this very moment. These are not people, the same people that came here and work on the plantation and from sun up to sundown in the hottest weather, worked, and stand strong, firm, who went through slavery, who didn't get reparation and still survived. Right? Who were killed, their sons, their daughters were murdered, and they still survived. Eugenics, experiments, poison, all kind of things that's been dishing out against, and they still survive. The very people that survive all the atrocity from ancients and ancients of time to this very moment still survive, showing you who these people are, how resilient they are. And how they overcome things. How they overcome adversity. Right? Pay attention to that. They've been killed, been raped, marginalized, prejudiced, hunted, all kinds of things. I'm talking from the coast of the America all the way back to the Caribbean. These people have faced it. I'm talking about from the countryside to the mainland, to the interior, to the exterior. They've been facing prosecution. They've been killed, murdered, yet they still survive. How could they survive this very moment? Because the Most High preserved them still. No matter what happened, he preserved them. The very people. The very people that the enemy had and think that, okay, we're going to kill them all. And they tried and it didn't work. They tried to kill them and it didn't work. The very people, they still exist this very moment. And they're still in captivity. They are the people and the children of the Most High. And they will be awoken one day. Very, very soon. You will see it for yourselves. When this begins, when this transition begins, oh my goodness, the other nations are going to inherit their curse. The book tells you that as well. So whenever they begin to realize themselves who they are, the curse upon them is going to begin to shift to the other nations because they inherit the curse of the other nation. The Most High used the other nations to punish them. So he's going to put back that curse on them. My brothers and sisters, wake up. Stay away from Christianity. Stay away from the churches. And of course, a lot of you are going to go, oh my God, the church, How could you speak this way about the church? You don't know. You didn't know. You didn't do any research or studied or meditate on anything. You're just following some crumbs, like ants that follow crumbs. You know nothing what's going on. You're just following something that somebody left behind. You're just reading and quoting specific pages from this book, thinking that you know everything that is there. You don't know. There's no church in the book. There was no church. Israel, the children of Israel, are not church-going people. There were never such thing in the book until the early centuries. So you need to go learn. A lot of you need to go back to the origin to understand what's taking place and learn about the truth. Learn about yourself. Learn about your God. Your God don't exist in the church. I'm sure you're wondering why people in the church claim that they're speaking in tongues and seems possessed, right? They think that speaking in tongues, right, is this whatever they're doing and the mockery or whatever, you know. I don't know what they're doing, really. They think that's it. You think that is it? Saying that you're speaking in tongue? That's a possession, a demon possession. That has nothing to do with the Most High. They didn't understand when the book said speak in tongues. The only thing I know when a person speaks like that is because they're possessed and some outside entity is trying to go in or take control of them and trying to control their speech pattern, and they're unable to do so. And they begin to speak all these nonsense that don't make sense. These are possessions, my people, in the church, where people going and say they're getting in spirit. You don't get in any spirit. They don't even know what the Holy Spirit is. The Holy Spirit don't have you reacting the way that they think it is. Do you hear what it said? Just think about that for a second. Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit. Do you know what that is? It's not a possession. Nothing in righteousness is possessive, my friends. So we have to learn that. We need to learn that and understand it. So these demon possessions that are taking place within the churches and people rolling on the floor and fluttering like some wild animal who got killed or got their throat cut. I mean, come on, it's ridiculous. I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, and those of you, see, the problem is, even we speak here on these platforms, and when the truth begins to come out, you'll find that these people scrutinize. You understand me? They begin to look and search for these pages, and then they try to shut them down and they find fault with it. They don't understand. It doesn't matter what they do, Facebook, YouTube, doesn't matter what you do. You cannot stop what's coming. You could close down the page, and I want you to do that. I want you to close them down and close them down, because this is only going to make it more sweet. This is only going to make the people come together more. This is going to make the ending faster. So you close it down. Close it down because you're afraid of the truth. This is where we're at in the society. Oh, close it, because they're saying things that they're not supposed to say. Close it down. A country that promotes freedom of speech, and yet you have no freedom to speak. I don't get it, right? See how contradicted they are, right? Country promote freedom of speech, but yet you cannot say certain things. So where is the freedom? There is none. They have a lot to hide. This is why they don't want you to say certain things. You're not supposed to talk about it. You're not supposed to talk about it. I want you, my people, to understand something. You will know yourself in the latter days. And I would advise you, don't wait until the latter days. Read this book diligently. Read it. And let me tell you, read from the beginning to the end. Just don't start at a certain point. But I'm telling you to read with an open mind. Deuteronomy 28 through 68, I would implore you all to go there and just read that. Understand and just look around you and compare what's happening around you. Compare what's happened to your mother, your fathers before. what other experience that other group of people like you have. Talk about them with each other, right? Understand it. You will begin to see where you aligned with these writings. Nobody can take that away from you. It doesn't matter what they do. Said he's going to drive you to jealousy with our people, right? Because you didn't keep the laws, the statutes, and commandments. So it's going to drive you to jealousy. He said he's going to make those who say that they are Jews come and bow before thy feet to know that I have loved you. You understand that I am your God. So in whatever way you want to see it, it's coming. This is not something to yearn or think about. What I want you guys to do is to love the Most High with all your mind, your heart, and your soul. That's what I want you to do. And the misteachings and information that we got, we have to learn them, right? The way that they tell you that this Jesus is the mediator between God and man, and you have to worship Jesus, and a lot of you are baptized in that name. You don't even know what the name mean. You don't know what you're getting into. You're just following something because your grandmother, your great grandmother, your mother were forced to learn this, and then they begin to teach you that. As their parents passed away, they become comfortable with the lies, and they teach you that, and you're gullible enough to just absorb it. Say, yeah, this is what it is for me. I'm saying this because I have sisters that are Christians, and they believe the same nonsense as well. You realize when these people conquer what they did? And even within the island of Jamaica now, they're supposed to be the most church in the world for a country, but just for a country, right? Yet the crime rate in the country is exceeding every year. It makes you think, right? Makes you have to think. Which God are these people serving, right? That they can bring about no peace in that place. That they themselves can't even pray for their own church sister to live. That cancer would take her away. They can't pray to heal anyone, to redeem anyone. None of these churches, I'm telling you. People just go there, and what the pastor tell you, oh, God wants you to be rich. God wanted this, and they tell you about the 10% and all kind of nonsense. All of that is just ridiculous. Let me explain something to you about this 10% that pastors today use as a way, you understand me, to exploit their members, right? Just to exploit their members and to make money. It's a business. So in Israel, I'm talking about Israel. There is no priest outside of Israel. There is no prophet. There is no priest unless they're Israelites. There is no other group of people who have produced any prophets from anywhere. So the prophets are from Israel. The priests are from Israel. All of these people are Israelites. Right? So we talk about the Levi. And the Levi, they didn't get an inheritance. They weren't given an inheritance. Why? Because God was their inheritance. So they weren't allowed because they were holy and they have to keep the law. Right? They were responsible to keep the law. So they weren't allowed to go amongst the common people which were living in Israel. So they had to live in a temple. And where they lived, they weren't supposed to associate themselves or go, based on righteousness and just being holy, right? So they were responsible for the holy things, the things that pertained to the Most High, which were holy. So Israel was commanded that they should bring 10% of what they have to the priests, right? Not to God. It wasn't for God. It was to the priests. So this is how the priests would eat. They'll be able to eat. They'll be able to survive because they weren't allowed to go amongst the commoners, right? This is how this 10% come in play. I know pastors and deacons and whoever use that to exploit people today and saying that you're giving 10% to God. But yet, you haven't seen a Brinks truck come outside from heaven, drive out there so they come to collect anything from the church. God don't need money. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? He don't need any money. The pastor need the money. That's what he take the money by. Look at the pastor's mansion, his house, and the cars that he's driving. So I want you guys to wake up, man. Wake up and see the truth. And stay away from the churches. You know, stay away from these churches. Because these churches are corrupted. You understand? They're very corrupted, and demons, spirits, jinns, another negative being live within these places. The temple that was built in the honor of the Most High, and he said that God don't live in houses, but he said, just because you're building it in my honor, I'll visit this place. But this place has to remain a holy place. For them to even go inside there, they have to wash their foot and their hands. Couldn't go in there or they would die. This is how holy it was. It wasn't a place for a congregation of people to go like what they have today and talk about churches, right? So I advise you people, as the time coming to a close, to go read Deuteronomy 28 through 68 and try to understand the context therein, compare it with your daily life and realize who you are, that you are the children of Israel. And if you're a descendant, not all of you, if you are a descendant, you should start to pay attention to that. If you are scattered among the nation and you have seen it that you have been treated like the tail and you're wondering why you're suffering, why you're going through some of the tribulation that you're going through, then you need to read Deuteronomy 28. Read that and begin to understand yourself. The Bible said you'll be discontinued from your heritage. That means your language, you won't speak it no more. You won't know yourself anymore. You just believe that you're an American, you're a West Indian, you understand, you're an African. That's who you are now. So you need to get to know yourself. So I'm telling you, love God with all your heart, your mind, and your soul. Please do that. Find yourself, find the truth within yourself. And do all that you can do to preserve life. Love your brother as you love yourself. These are the commandments that we've gotten. Love your brother just the way you love yourself. You'll begin to see things differently. So I want you guys to take away from today's lesson, you know, as much as you can. Help yourself, man. Open up your eyes and see what's going on. Please do that. And we will be back here again next Friday. As you know, the time is coming to a close, and please stay tuned for ATO. That's the next program coming up, Artists Take Over. And look for some entertainment there, and some artists is passing through for interviews and performances. So you guys can stay tuned for that. That will be streaming after this program ends. So you guys can stick around and just enjoy the music and the entertainment. Until such time, we will see you guys again here, which is next Friday. I do remember everyone that come in today, please leave your comments. And if you didn't subscribe, then surely do subscribe to the channel. And leave your comments with any question that you have pertaining to what was said today, or any question that you have that's been lingering in your mind and you need to understand what it is or why you're feeling a certain way about it. We can have that discussion next Friday when we come. So please don't be afraid to leave a message. Share your thoughts and whatever it is that you think about. And just give your input as well and leave it in the comments, and we'll get to them next week, Friday. So I want you guys to stay tuned and don't go anywhere, because as I said, ATO is coming up right here on Skunk H TV. It's a good moment today, a good blessing, man, and much love and respect to everybody out there. We'll definitely see you guys in a little bit. And next Friday here, The Naked Truth. Please tune in and please go back and watch some of the videos that are out there as well. And enjoy your weekend until we see you again next time. To all my brothers and sisters out there, big up on yourself, The Naked Truth. We'll see you guys on Friday again. And stay tuned. Remember, ATO is coming up next, so stay tuned for that. And we see you guys in a few. Big up on yourself, everybody. Much love, respect, and honor to everybody.